The channel is boiling. Waves slam steel hulls in the dark. Young men sit shoulder to shoulder, on ships, in planes, silent. Some clutch helmets. Some write letters they'll never send. It's the most important day in history. In his pocket, Eisenhower turns a note over and over. A message written in case he's wrong. Across the water, Rommel isn't even at the front. He's gone home. It's the most important day in history, and most men don't know the full plan. Some won't live another hour. The day before, inside Southwick House near Portsmouth, Allied commanders stood over weather maps that looked like bad news wrapped in fog. Storms, wind, rough seas. The invasion was set for June 5th, but clouds could bury the sky. Waves could tip landing craft. Paratroopers could vanish into the wind, and one man had to decide if this war would launch tomorrow or fall apart before it began. Group Captain James Stagg doesn't hold a rifle. He holds charts drawn by hand, reports from the North Atlantic, wind readings from Ireland, notes scribbled in pencil. His forecast doesn't match what the Americans want. They say, "Go now, don't wait." But Stagg sees something else. A crack in the storm, a narrow window. June 6th. In Southwick House, the room tightens. Debates turn to silence. Eisenhower stares at the wall, then at the floor, then nowhere. Finally, he speaks. "Okay, let's go." The words snap through the tent like a command to history itself. Engines turn over. The armada shifts. Ships head for Normandy. And across the channel, the Germans sleep. Patrols are stood down. Officers are on leave. Rommel is gone, home for his wife's birthday. Still sure that bad weather means no invasion, they believe the storm is their shield. But the storm is about to break. German high command argued over maps. Another decoy, they said. Just like Pas de Calais, they didn't know the engines had already started. While generals debate, the sky begins to move. Hundreds of C-47s rise into the dark. Their wings shimmer cold in the moonlight. Inside, paratroopers from the 82nd and 101st, shoulder to shoulder, knees locked tight, red jump lights glowing like a warning no one speaks aloud. Some men pray. Some grip their rifles like they can squeeze fate tighter. No one talks. Then, the flak begins. Explosions crack open the sky. Anti-aircraft fire rips through formations. Pilots swerve. Green lights flicker, too early, too late, in all the wrong places. Men jump anyway. There's no time, no choice, just the door. And then the fall. They drop into darkness, scattered across fields, rivers, and hedgerows they've never seen. The invasion doesn't begin with a line. It begins with chaos. Lieutenant Colonel Benjamin Vandervoort hits the ground wrong. His ankle snaps. He doesn't scream, just grits his teeth, pulls himself up, ties it tight. There's a bridge to take. Pain doesn't matter. Nearby, others drop into flooded fields. The water swallows them, weighed down by rifles, gear, and gravity. Some can't get free. No one sees them vanish. In Sainte-Mère-Église, the war gets strange. Buildings burn. German troops shout orders through smoke. And above it all, Private John Steele hangs from the church steeple, wounded, tangled in his chute. He doesn't cut himself down. He plays dead. And for hours he watches the town tear itself apart below him. Across Normandy, scattered men crawl through ditches and hedgerows. They whisper passwords into the dark. Their units are gone. Officers missing. Radios silent. But the missions haven't vanished. They move forward anyway. A handful of paratroopers blow a bridge. Another ambushes a patrol. Someone steps forward, not out of rank, but because no one else is left. By the time the sky begins to lighten, the invasion is a mess, but it's a dangerous mess. German defenses are cut off. Roads are blocked. Lines are broken. D-Day doesn't begin with an army. It begins with lost men in the dark. Men are confused. But east of them, something rare is about to happen. A plan actually works. A small group of gliders prepares to land exactly where they're supposed to. They'll take bridges in silence. They'll hold them without fanfare. And while they do, the beaches begin to wake. Just before dawn, something shudders in the sea. Landing craft scrape across hidden sandbars. Men clutch rifles and helmets in chest-deep waves, breathless. At exactly 6:30, the ramps fall, and everything breaks loose. Machine guns atop the bluffs open fire, not bursts, not shots, but a wall of death. Bullets tear through canvas, then through men. Some don't even step off the ramp before they fall. Bodies slip beneath the tide before they ever reach the sand. Some try to climb over the sides, but their packs pull them under. Ammunition belts, rifles, and gear strapped tight. They drown before they even touch sand. Others press forward, wading through bullets. Each step a gamble, each wave hiding twisted metal. Belgian gates, tank traps, and spiked stakes rigged with mines. Steel teeth, waiting. Behind it all, the bunkers. Machine guns stitched into concrete, zeroed in to leave no angle untouched. A beach designed not to repel an army, but to erase it. A young private, Henry Witt, would later say he only heard one thing above the gunfire. "They're leaving us here to die like rats." A scream, swallowed instantly. But even here, there is something else. A 19-year-old medic, Charles Norman Shea, drags himself out of the surf. Then he goes back in, and again, pulling wounded men from the waves. No cover, no orders, no pause. Just a satchel, a life vest, and the will to save someone. He would survive. So would the men he pulled from the sea. By nightfall, he'd earn the Silver Star and France's Legion of Honor. Elsewhere, officers fall in minutes. Squads collapse. Some men make it to the seawall with no one left to lead them. They huddle behind broken tank traps, rifles soaked with blood and salt. And still, somehow, they keep moving. A corporal crouches behind twisted steel, shaking. He can't move. He watches friends fall beside him, and still can't move. Down the beach, a medic hesitates. Another man is drowning. One more run into the surf might save him, might end him. He takes the step anyway. On the cliffs above, the defenders begin to understand. This isn't a feint. This is it. Private Franz Gockel's machine gun is gone, shredded by naval shells. He picks up a rifle and keeps firing, trying to hold the line. And still, slowly, painfully, small groups crawl forward from crater to crater, tossing grenades uphill, lobbing courage into concrete. Out at sea, destroyers edge closer, far closer than they should. Their guns thunder, pounding the bluffs to break the crossfire. But for hours, Omaha feels like a mistake that can't be taken back. The sea spits men onto the sand, only to rip them apart again. The beach is a gauntlet. The only way out is forward, and every yard costs lives. Omaha is still burning, but just down the coast, something else is happening. American forces approach Utah Beach. The sea is still rough. Smoke hangs low. Navigation's off. When the ramps drop, the first wave looks up and realizes they're almost a mile off course. For a moment, confusion. Then a voice cuts through it. Brigadier General Theodore Roosevelt Jr., walking with a cane, surveys the scene. No panic, no radio back. Just this: "We'll start the war from right here. It saves lives." The German defenses here are thinner, fewer bunkers, less fire. What could have been a disaster becomes a quiet, unlikely success, not because of the plan, but because someone adapted when it broke. And further east, British and Canadian troops charge Gold, Juno, and Sword. At Juno, the resistance is brutal. Canadian units take heavy losses just to hold the beach, but they don't stop. Engineers crawl forward under fire, clearing mines, blowing gaps through steel, and cutting paths for tanks and reinforcements before the next wave arrives. At Gold Beach, British forces push inland toward Bayeux. At Sword, they drive toward Caen. Every hour matters. Casualties rise. Medics don't stop moving. But this isn't Omaha. Here, the tide is turning. By mid-morning, something becomes clear. The beaches are holding, supplies are landing, tanks are moving, infantry pushes through hedgerows and half-broken villages. German counterattacks are slow, scattered, bridges destroyed, roads cratered, skies owned by Allied planes. D-Day doesn't hinge on one landing. It survives because enough of them work at once. While Omaha bleeds, the others begin to breathe. But inland, high above the beaches, another fight is underway, not across sand, but straight up stone. At Point du Hoc, a jagged headland towers nearly 100 feet above the sea. At the base, Colonel James Rutter's U.S. Army Rangers. At the top, German artillery, guns powerful enough to rip Omaha and Utah apart if they're still there. The Rangers can't wait to find out. Their boats slam against the rocks. Grappling hooks fire upward. Some miss, some catch, some snap mid-air as bullets cut the ropes. Still, they climb, hands bleeding, boots slipping on wet stone. Some are shot mid-ascent and fall back into the sea. No sound, just gone. Those who reach the top don't pause. Grenades, rifles, fighting at arm's length, mud, fire, and muscle. The Germans are stunned, but not broken. The Rangers push inland, looking for the guns, and then they're gone. The guns aren't gone, just hidden, dragged inland, tucked behind hedgerows. The Rangers don't retreat. They split up into small patrols deep in enemy territory, hunting blind. Hours later, they find them. One by one, they destroy the guns with thermite grenades. The mission is complete, technically, but the price is still being paid, cut off, low on ammunition. No food, no supplies. The Rangers dig into the cliff's edge. German counterattacks come fast, then keep coming, day and night, rain and smoke. Relief doesn't come. When reinforcements finally arrive, most of Rutter's men are gone. But the cliff is still held. The guns are silent. Victory doesn't look like a flag waving. It looks like survival, barely. By nightfall, the rocks are quiet. But inland, the real war is just beginning. Not over open beaches, but through hedgerows, orchards, and fields where every step could be the last. The cliffs go still. The chaos only spreads. Across Normandy's countryside, scattered paratroopers begin to rise. From hedgerows, orchards, and flooded fields. Units meant to land together are now fragments. 2 men here, 5 men there. No radios, no maps, no officers. Some don't even know where they are, but they know what to do. In places like Sainte-Mère-Église and in the farmland beyond, small groups begin to form, not from orders, but from instinct. A sergeant steps up because someone has to. A private becomes a runner. Orders are improvised, missions rewritten on scraps of paper or memory. Bridges are sabotaged with leftover explosives. Telephone lines are cut. German convoys are ambushed, not by battalions, but by handfuls of exhausted men crouched behind stone walls and apple trees. Inside nearby farmhouses, the French move carefully, doors open, just long enough to pass water or bread or a whispered direction. No speeches, no celebrations, just quiet defiance. Helping openly means death. German reinforcements try to respond, but the roads are no longer safe. Allied aircraft own the skies. Columns are bombed. Couriers on motorcycles are strafed mid-delivery. Messengers die with folded orders still in their pockets, orders that never reach command. Confusion spreads upward. Officers wait for clarity that never comes. Units hesitate, unsure if this is a real invasion or just another Allied trick. Every delay gives more ground to men who were never supposed to be here. Men who were never supposed to survive the drop. None of this looks heroic. Not from the ground. It looks like mud, like fear, like exhaustion and quiet resolve. But by morning, those small acts. One bridge, one road, one whispered map in a French kitchen. They begin to shift the battlefield. The German response slows. The beachheads breathe. History doesn't always turn on generals or grand strategy. Sometimes it turns on a decision made in the dark by someone who wasn't supposed to live long enough to make it. By late afternoon, the gunfire hasn't stopped, but something has shifted. Inside German headquarters, truth arrives. Reports once dismissed as noise are now undeniable. Normandy isn't a diversion. It's the invasion. Field Marshal von Rundstedt sees it, but too late. Armored divisions are still pinned down by Allied air power. Requests to move crawl upward through a frozen chain of command. By the time the orders come, the moment is already gone. The initiative, lost. Along the coast, the Allies begin to connect. At Utah, paratroopers link with infantry. At Gold, Juno, and Sword, British and Canadian units push forward, street by street, hedgerow by hedgerow. At Omaha, men who thought the sand would be their grave look up and realize the bluffs are no longer firing. The beachheads hold. And now, for the first time all day, there's space to look around. Wounded men lie wrapped in blankets. Bodies remain where they fell, marked quietly, respectfully. Medics move slower now, not from fear, but from exhaustion. No one cheers. No one lifts their rifle. This isn't victory. It's survival. By nightfall on June 6th, the impossible has happened. The Allies are still here. The door into Europe is open, just barely. And it was paid for in blood, in confusion, and in courage measured one decision at a time. History will call it a turning point. The men who lived through it just call it the longest day. The fighting isn't over. The war will rage for another year. But on this day, history bends. Night doesn't fall. It settles. Slow, heavy, permanent. Along the beaches of Normandy, the guns finally quiet. Not silence, just less noise. Enough for men to hear themselves breathe again. Medics work under dim lights. Their hands are dark with blood. Bandages run out. Morphine runs thin. Some are treated. Some are only made comfortable. Names are written down. Some never will be. The dead are counted where they lie, carefully, respectfully. Helmets placed beside them. Tags checked twice. Faces covered. And the ones who lived, they don't speak. They sit in silence, on sand, on rocks, against the bones of broken steel, rifles across their knees, eyes fixed on nothing. Some shake, some stare, some cry quietly when they know no one is watching. The shoreline is scattered with what remains. Packs, weapons, torn maps, half-sunk landing craft. The tide moves in, then out, washing around boots that will never walk again. June 6, 1944 is ending. The invasion has succeeded. But tonight, victory makes no sound. Only exhaustion, only loss, only the weight of a day that will never really end. Morning will come again, the war will go on. But for those who lived through it, this night belongs only to June 6th. D-Day wasn't clean. It wasn't noble in the moment. It was terrifying. It was broken. It was costly. Men landed in the wrong places. Orders collapsed. Friends were lost in minutes. Courage wasn't loud. It was quiet, shaky, often unseen. But that day cracked open Fortress Europe. It gave the war a direction it would never lose. It opened the road to liberation. The men who survived didn't remember it because they were proud. They remembered it because they knew who didn't come back. History calls it D-Day. But for them, it was simply the longest day. If this story stayed with you, honor it, remember it, share it.
Wow, that was weird.